Under the blazing summer sun, Ryan pulled his van into the driveway of a small, weathered house. The lawn was overgrown, and the paint on the shutters was peeling. He grabbed the box from the back of the truck and walked up to the door. The moment he reached the porch, an overwhelming stench hit him like a wall. Ryan gagged, his nose wrinkling as he stepped back instinctively. He looked at the house in disbelief. What the hell is that smell? He hesitated before knocking. When no one answered, he leaned closer to the window, peering inside. The dimly lit living room was cluttered with piles of old newspapers, boxes, and what looked like trash. Suddenly, the door creaked open, and an elderly man with dark skin and a frail frame appeared. "Yes?" the man asked, his voice hoarse. Ryan took a step back, both from the smell and the sight of the man. His clothes were worn, his hands trembled, and his face was gaunt. "A package for you," Ryan stammered, handing over the box. "Thank you," the man replied, his voice soft. Ryan lingered, his curiosity overtaking him. "Sir, are you okay? This smell? It's really strong." The old man sighed, leaning against the doorframe for support. "I'm fine, son. Just old bones and bad luck." Ryan nodded, but something didn't sit right. After dropping off the package, Ryan returned to his truck but couldn't drive away. He kept thinking about the smell and the old man's frail appearance. Something was wrong. He grabbed his phone and called his supervisor. "Hey, I'm at a delivery, and I think there's an emergency. This old guy's house smells awful, and he looks like he hasn't eaten in days. Can I call someone to check on him?" "Go ahead," his supervisor replied. Ryan looked up the local social services number and explained the situation. They assured him someone would come by soon. While he waited, he couldn't shake the thought of the old man alone in that house. He decided to go back. When Ryan knocked again, the old man opened the door with a puzzled look. "Mind if I sit with you for a bit?" Ryan asked. I called for some help. Just want to make sure you're okay." The man hesitated, then nodded. "Suit yourself, kid." Inside, the smell was almost unbearable. Ryan tried to breathe through his mouth as he sat on a worn-out couch. The old man shuffled over to a chair, clutching a cane for support. "Name's George," the man said, breaking the silence. "What's yours?" "Ryan," the young man replied, fidgeting nervously. "Mr. George, what happened here? Are you living alone?" George nodded. "Been alone for years. Used to keep this place clean, but after a while the body doesn't work like it used to. And the mind, well, it gets tired too." Ryan didn't know what to say. He glanced around the room, noticing a dusty piano in the corner. "You play?" he asked, pointing at it. George's eyes lit up for the first time. "Used to. Played in jazz clubs all over the city. Back in the day, people called me Fingers George. I was good. Damn good." "What happened?" Ryan asked. George's face grew somber. "Life happened. Played through years of hate and racism. People wouldn't even look me in the eye, but they'd clap for my music. Lost my wife and daughter in a car crash a decade ago. After that, well, I didn't see much point in anything." Ryan's stomach twisted with guilt. He had assumed the worst about George the moment he smelled the house. "Mr. George, I owe you an apology," Ryan said, his voice shaky. "When I got here, I thought you might have been dangerous or something. I judged you without knowing anything about you. I'm sorry." George chuckled softly. "Son, life's too short for guilt. People judge what they don't understand. I've seen it my whole life. What matters is what you do after you learn better." Ryan nodded, taking George's words to heart. A knock at the door interrupted their conversation. Ryan opened it to find a social worker and 2 paramedics. "Mr. George," the social worker said, "we're here to help. Let's get you checked out and clean up this place." George looked at Ryan, his eyes glassy. "Guess this is it, huh?" Ryan smiled. "You'll be okay, Mr. George. They'll take care of you." As the paramedics helped George onto a stretcher, he turned to Ryan. "Thanks, kid, for sticking around." "Anytime," Ryan replied, meaning every word. As the ambulance drove away, Ryan stood on the porch, watching it disappear down the street. He took a deep breath, the stench of the house still lingering in his nose. But this time it didn't bother him. It wasn't just a bad smell anymore. It was a reminder of George's strength, his resilience, and the importance of looking beyond the surface. Ryan got back into his truck, a little wiser and a lot more humble. Compassion breaks barriers. It turns judgment into understanding and strangers into friends. What will you do the next time someone needs help?